We haven't really found too much apart from a little bit of heat and sweat, and it is a lovely warm day today, folks, but we are loving it. We're trying to stick to the drainage line, but unfortunately it seems when we're really in the drainage line you don't seem to get our signal, so we're just above it now, trying to sort of jump from shade to shade. Most of the animals that you will find this summer day will be in the shade. We passed some impala and we managed to round those warthog eventually. They were also just sort of keeping to the shade of the tall trees. Very important for their survival to have tall shady trees for this time of year. Safari Dream would like to know, what is the worst encounter? That is always a very interesting question. Don't know how you describe the word worst, but I've had pretty crazy encounters. Maybe I should just pick one and go with it. Nice in the shade here. Always happy, I'd say. Lots of encounters. Most of them in the Kruger National Park and what. Very good question. We have moved down into the drainage to get a little bit of shade, and once again our signal is low. So let's move on from here. So folks, we're going to try to figure out our signal issues down here, and while we do so, we're going to go over to my friend Brent up in the Masai Mara, who I believe has found you some cheetahs.
Yeah. Yeah, still enjoying the Mara. We are here, and the sun seems to be going home. That does not mean we are going home, because this is one thing you want to do all your life, and it couldn't be better just driving around, enjoying the savanna. The grass is quite tall now. This is what we call the elephant grass. Sometimes you'll call it the Themenda troyandra, and it may wait until the wildebeest come here the next 3-4 months and they'll just bring it down. So still big fun to be here and looking what is happening in terms of the day ending. Beautiful, beautiful evening as we are coming to close of the day. Go ahead again. Say that again, please. Davies, good question. We got another 3 months. The weather pattern the last few years has become a little bit erratic in this part of the world. But ideally, March, April is when we expect the long rains. Short rains around October, November, sometimes before Christmas. But the long rains is anything March, April, and they're really long and they're very, very, very heavy. And then shortly after is when the wildebeest will be coming. Thank you for that question. Good. We can hear from a distance the dove saying it's time to go home, have a drink, work harder, And Noel, tell us what is happening in South Africa. But Kenya, so far so good. Tell us how your temperatures are. Well, it's cooling off a little bit, because here the weather it's pretty good, has cooled off. It's feeling very well right now. Right to you, Noel.
They're very flat, and you can see by their breathing just how hot they are. Now remember, they don't have sweat glands like we do. Covered in fur, so they have to pant and breathe quite heavily to cool themselves down, and also lay in the shade. So the shade that she's chosen has a little bit of nice cool grass, as well as some soil that'll be a little bit cooler, and there's a very slight breeze coming through, but it's a very warm day. So one of the reasons why something like a leopard will choose to hunt when it's cooler and or at night, depending, is because of the heat like this, their brain can actually overheat and stop functioning. Now a cheetah like what we saw last night with Tristan or what we see up in the Mara, has a very special brain casing that allows their brain to get more hot, to get warmer than a cheetah's or a lion's when they're running long distances, and also for being out in larger areas and having more access to daytime hunting. It's not that leopards won't hunt in the day, but I mean, especially right now, it's a real waste of energy to do any sort of hunting. And again, you might over exert yourself. Very similar to us. If it's 35 degrees, 95 degrees Fahrenheit, and it's the middle of the day and scorching sun, and you go for a very long run, the chances of getting heat stroke are good. Aaron, hello. Thank you for the question. I believe that you are 9 years old and you're busy watching Safari Live. I hope you're enjoying. Aaron, you're wondering, does the cub eat food yet? Does it eat meat yet, or only nurse? Aaron, right now it's going to nurse a bit more than it eats meat, but it will eat some meat if it has the opportunity. So Thandi's been doing something really interesting, Aaron, where she's actually been bringing parts of kills, especially things like baby impala, to the den sites, which is it's not an abnormal behavior, but it's not something that happens often, and the cub will eat off of that. But the cub is nursing more than eating meat, and then as the months go on, it's going to slowly wean off the milk and switch over completely to meat. Good question, Aaron. Shame, the cub looks like an appendage of Thandi. It doesn't even look like itself unless you look at it closely enough. Also, so the last time I saw this cub was on the 1st of January. It's now the 15th of January, so that's 2 weeks. I just want you all to have a notice. Its colors are coming out a lot more. So it's still little, and it's still a little bit darker than Thandi, but you can see because it's growing, you're starting to see more of the distinct rosettes. They were always there, but what happens when they're smaller is they're tinier, so the rosettes are closer together, and then as it grows, obviously the skin grows with it, similar to how we function, and then you're starting to see a more displayed pattern where there's a little bit more white and tawny stuck in there. I was developing some of my photos from the last sighting I had for our first morning drive of the new year, and was having a look at how teeny tiny it was, and now I'm looking at it, and it's, I wouldn't say double the size, but it's definitely much, much bigger in these 2 weeks. It's growing very quickly. This breeze is lovely. I bet Thandi's saying the same thing. The flies are starting to bother her. I think if we give it a good, say, hour, we're going to get some nice movement. We might get a little bit more suckling. And then I have a feeling from the tracks that we saw this morning and then where she ended up, I have a feeling that she's probably going to go out hunting again as it gets cooler. She's going to leave the little cub here. So I think we're going to try and stick with this as long as we possibly can. I know they're very flat right now and it's a little bit harder to see, but for me it's still exciting because the potential is there, the potential for the movement and the contact comfort where they groom each other and touch each other, and the potential for the cub to start jumping around is all here. All right, well, I believe David, who's on interview with us, and it sounds like David is doing an excellent job, is still up there in the Masai Mara, and he's busy looking at something on the road. So let's head back up to him and see what he wants to tell us.
What a way to end the day, having spoken all the good words I know about the LBR, or the lilac-breasted roller. She just comes on the road saying thank you for saying good things about me. She looks like a female to me. She was feeding, and I can't believe she's like, thank you, David, and what a blessing, and what a flight. See the beautiful colors I was talking about there before, and this marks to us a great day with my lilac-breasted roller. I think we had a viewer earlier there by the name of Djuma who was asking about my favorite bird, and it's such a blessing to end the day with that bird there saying thank you, and David, have a great evening. What a day, what an ending. Yes, coming slowly, and again we are meeting. Marianne, it's very rare to see birds pretty close to humans. That doesn't really happen. I would say today was a good omen for us, and what a day to see that lilac-breasted roller coming saying hello to us. It doesn't normally happen. Birds in general are quite skittish. Maybe the flamingos when people go near them in the lakes, but the normal birds in the wild in Africa are really skittish. But this particular one, I think it was just thanking me for putting all the good words about it in this world that I know about. Yeah, good question there, Marianne. Cynic. The lilac-breasted roller, they're basically like flycatchers, very similar family to the flycatchers, and they'll go for locusts, grasshoppers, flies, sometimes even bees, butterflies, crepuscular insects like, the moth, they'll go for them. But in general, they feed on insects. They more go for flies, and that's why they have the whiskers a little bit just below the base of the beak. Good question, Simak, there. Good. We're slowly heading home, and yeah, Scott, tell us what's happening on your world. And I would say here we're having like a good sunset. We shall keep looking at it and find out who else will be telling us good night before we end the day. Right to you, Scott.
Seems as if Scotty D has a little bit of gremlins, a little bit of a technical difficulty. So sorry about that. Don't forget we are live, so anything that happens to us, you all get to participate in, and that's all the good, and then all of the little niggles that happen with losing signal. So we've got this antenna on the back of our vehicle that radiates our signal out, and sometimes in areas with very thick bush or down in little drainage lines, it doesn't go out as much as it should. Now, luckily enough, as you crash cut over to us, came to us, you have a beautiful view of Thandi. She's lifted up her head and she's looking around. Still very hot and panting, but it's nice to be able to see her face. And you can see her very, very long whiskers. Leopards use those whiskers to help them in feeling when they're hunting. So they'll crouch down really low and they move very slowly forward at first. And those whiskers jut out at such a position from their face that it can feel any obstructions that's near them and around them so that they don't make too much noise. Julie, very good question. You're wondering when can we confirm the spot pattern of the cub. So if we zoom in on Thandi, sorry about that, Davi, as you're busy zooming out. If we zoom in on Thandi, you can see the very top whisker line, and just above it she's got 1, 2, 3 spots. That's part of her spot pattern. That's her left-hand side. The right-hand side will also have. They're born with those. So the cub already has his spot pattern. I believe some of you, after our sighting on the 1st of January, we're going through and trying to have a look. When it's smaller and darker the way that it has been, it's a little bit more difficult to point out the exact ones, but we should see it any time from now. So hopefully today, if we get a nice little view of the cub, we can see what that pattern is. And now, as I'm saying that out loud, while you guys are busy looking at them, I'm going to see if any of my photographs might possibly have that spot pattern. Aha. So look, this is not the best, but you can see, I'm just looking for a little stick. You can see, here's the top whisker line for the cub, and just above it, can you see these dots? Those are the whisker pattern. So it's looking like a 3 on this side. This side's a little bit in shadow, but I'll have a look. This photograph, although I'm happy with the photograph, I'm not 100% happy. I had to do quite a lot of work with it to get it to come out nicely. but it's not the sharpest image. It's just cute. So that's what we would be looking at. And we will see today, because our cameras are so good that we might possibly be able to pick it up a little bit better. Also, some of you, that same sighting I was just showing you now, some of you had some beautiful screenshots. So if any of you have those screenshots, we can definitely have a look there. All right, Steve-O is on a bushwalk, and Steve-O loves a good tree, so I think let's head on over to him so that he can tell you about whatever tree he's found.
Indeed, ladies and gentlemen, we have been meandering through the drainage line, trying to find you a magnificent specimen, and we have found it. Apart from all the technical issues, as you must understand, we have a backpack with Seb, and if we're in the drainage line, they are not getting our signal. So we've now got my man perched on top of a termite mound, and lo and behold, the tree that we wanted to talk about itself is growing out of this marvelous termite mound, and I wonder if anyone out there knows what tree this might be. There's been all sorts of elephant damage to it. I can hear some yellow-billed hornbills up and above in the canopy. I'm not sure if they're breeding in this tree, but this is one of the marvelous trees we find in the area. I wonder if anyone can comment quickly and tell me what they think it might be. But while we wait, there are some topics about this tree we can talk about. And the bark itself, as you can see, elephants have come and damaged the bark here, and the bark of this tree is actually quite good for sorting out any form of headache that you might have, specifically to do with hangovers. So the old story of the elephants eating too many marulas and getting drunk, apparently when they do that, this is the tree they come and visit afterwards to heal any headaches. And we can ourselves actually take strips of this bark and make it into a decoction, which means boiling it for about 8 to 10 minutes and then drinking the liquid. That liquid will cure heartburn as well as headache. Kestrel Fox says Jackalberry. No, I'm afraid that is not correct. The bark here, there's these cracks in the bark. It's got a bit more of a greyish tinge to it. But if I jump to the back here where Seb is, see if I can pull down a branch and actually show you one of these leaves. Okay, very good. Here we go. Ziggy says a leadwood. No, Ziggy, it is not a leadwood. Here I have the branch for you in my hand. It's not the best example in the world, but the leaves are actually compound. And if you remember, when we talk about compound leaves, it means that there is a lot of leaflets. That entire thing is the leaf, but what should happen is there should be another leaflet on the end, like that. And this, anyone? I'm going to give you the answer. It is the Scotia brachypatella, which is known as the weeping boer bean. And unfortunately, the flowers ended in about September, October time. These beautiful red hanging flowers. And the name weeping boer bean comes from the fact that there's actually so much liquid or nectar seeping out of those flowers that it looks like it's crying. And the fact boer bean, boer meaning farmer, the Afrikaans farmers that were here many, many years ago, that name is derived from that. And the bean itself, well, here are the beautiful flowers. The bean itself is actually a substitute and was used as a substitute for coffee, hence the name boer bean. The early settlers to these areas would have utilized these trees for many, many reasons. And it is an absolutely fantastic tree in the flowering season. These flowers that are dripping with honey, the birds and the bees in this tree are almost unbelievable. And we can spend minutes, hours just looking up into one of these trees and just exploring what's going on. From a food point of view, giraffe, elephant, baboon, nyala, all sorts will eat the leaves. I mentioned the elephants feeding on the bark as well. But the young leaves, definitely by black rhino, baboon, kudu, and giraffe. So we found our wonderful tree. It is a tree for the party goer, the person who enjoys to have one too many the night before, but nice to probably have some in surplus, so you don't have to walk 4.5 to 5 Ks, 2.5 miles to find your hangover cure. Maybe have some in preparation. And while we continue on our meander, we're going to change our route slightly to get out of the drainage line so we can get some video and some footage for you. And while we do so, Mr. Scott, I believe, is bumbling, as shall we. Let's go, Mr.
Well done to those of you who got the weeping boer bean correct.
And for those of you who didn't, best of luck next time. We have dipped into the Milwaukee riverbed system. This is not a road, it's a riverbed that makes the most wonderful roads on the property. And we had some female leopard tracks heading in this direction. We used the tracks about half a mile away from here. They seem very fresh. I'm feeling that maybe it's not just going to be Thandi and her cub that you get lucky enough to see, but could be shadow, not too certain. So that's what we're hoping to find. A leopard. This yesterday, which was a big surprise for those of you who are. And there may also be some rumors of Brent. If I found some Kenya, so maybe a little bit later. For now, though, you're going to be heading all the way back up.
You're coming to the end of the day here, and such another beautiful day. We got all the beautiful trees lined up to our right there, and the Mara has different vegetations. I mean, if you go around, you'll see we have the riverine forest, you have the marshes, you have the savanna, you have the cliffs, we have the escarpment. If you look on my left there, and the days when you go out, you don't see as much game, but there still be a lot of beautiful stuff to watch. The features around here are equally engaging, and you'll still keep looking, and every few clicks, every few kilometers you drive, you'll come to a different landscape to enjoy. Sometimes you just go out there, don't see a lot of game, have a little bit of a change by just enjoying the freshness of the air, the Mara, pure air, clean, open, huge space. And the Balanite sometimes, where we get the leopards or cats hanging out there, or the vultures coming to do their nets, will just be nice. Just stop, watch, see some little fights on vultures on top of us trees, fighting for space, fighting for homes. It'll always be very, very interesting to see what happens out there. The marshes also are equally good. Yes, and that sounds like we'll be ending our day today, and hopefully, Brent, we're doing well with the musketeers today. Let us know what is new with the cheetahs. Do you think they brought someone else down, or they were down with the hartebeest? Brent, let us know. All the way to you.
Well, we're still with Miale and her young male. They've just got up. The weather has just changed exponentially. It is now all of a sudden really windy, and could make for some good hunting. The temperature has dropped exceedingly low in a very short space of time. Now, update on those leopards that we went looking for. Unfortunately, we found where they were, and there was the smell of a carcass, but all that was there were about 6 hyenas. And to thieve it from them. But we will definitely be playing the patience game with these two, and hoping that they're about to go off on the hunt. Ravinda would like to know, do cheetahs hunt on a full belly with the same speed? Well, when they've got a very full belly, Ravinda, they tend not to hunt at all, unless something sort of trips over them and stands on them. But for the most and not much. There we go. Who's up? It's the little boy doing the stretch there, not Mum. I think he's harassing the Egyptian geese we saw earlier. I can hear them honking away. And the lapwings are starting to shout as well. Now I'm hoping they're going to head in the direction where we are. There's a lot of tommies, some zebra, but the grass is very short, which could make hunting a little bit more difficult. They might hunt quite late this evening, but we will be here. What are you up to, Nonsense? And you can see how strong the wind is. We're obviously quite zoomed in, and the bumping of the camera is actually just from the howling gale we're facing at the moment. So they are up, and it does look like they are heading in the direction I predicted they would. Not quite ready to really get on the move just yet. Jay says, I love watching these two. Me too, Jay, me too. I've spent some wonderful hours with these particular two cheetah, and I intend to spend quite a few more hours in the future with them. But from true spots across to rosettes on Djuma.
Cheetahs with Brent, yay! I'm hoping he manages to get around and get another view. Our view hasn't changed, but we're in the long game here. We're in the patience game, as it were. It's interesting moving from full-time guiding now to presenting. You end up in these really fantastic scenarios like this sometimes where we get to sit here for long periods of time and really watch and view and film and share with you all at the same time. Whereas, not all the time, but sometimes you would sort of move away because a sleeping leopard's a sleeping leopard. But we know, oh, Kushoim, so cute. But we know that our patience and perseverance is definitely going to pay off, and we have so much space and movement and allowance to be able to do that with all of you. So the flies are biting them more and more. The temperature has come down. As you can see, the cub is getting a little bit restless, which is exactly what we were hoping for, so that it moves around. No, not there. Vinda, you would like to know what is my favorite apex predator and why. From a vehicle, out of the big five, I enjoy leopard. From on foot, it's lion. And then if I take not the big five and I add in cheetah and wild dog with the Magnificent Seven, it's wild dog. So this morning we were super lucky and got some dogs. I really enjoy wild dogs, but I enjoy wild dogs when they're moving and hunting and watching the dynamics there. Something like the sighting we have right now with this leopard and cub. This is a really special sighting. I can only count on one hand how many times I've been able to show guests a sighting like this. And I think thus far, just in the past 3 weeks, we have been able through Safari Live to see this cub at least twice a week, which is, I don't even think everyone understands just how lucky we are that this is possible. Yeah, I can't pick an exact favorite. They all have their different virtues. For right now, this is my favorite because it's just too cute and I can't even handle it. And I'm also just very grateful and respectful of the fact that she's letting us sit this close. Alright, now the cub has decided to lie down again, and Mum is out. So I think let's head back to Steve on Bushwalk, who has another tree for us, and let's learn a little bit about all of the foliage that's around with him while we wait for these cats to get active.
Another magnificent specimen of this weeping boer bean, ladies and gentlemen. and we've walked probably about 200 yards from the previous one, and once again we are on a termite mound. And the reason I wanted to stop was just to, it's difficult to talk too much about one tree at one time, but what we've seen here and what Seb is focusing in on is the fact that the bark has been damaged, and there are holes in the bark here from wood borers. And if we go down on the ground here, wood boring insects, you can actually see the process of the wood borers. If you've ever used a drill before in your life, that sawdust that comes from it, that is essentially what's happening here with these holes. And the elephants, by damaging the bark of this tree in their party rituals, have exposed this tree to attack by insects, and the wood borers have been boring these holes. Woodpeckers and the like will go in there to harvest those boring beetles. But we have a number of ant species. I can't identify them, but they're living within the cracks of this tree. The tree itself, when the bark is punctured, gives off a lot of resin and a lot of sugar, and that sugar would be quite nicely taken up by a lot of your ant species that aren't able to tap into the bark itself. But this tree has nearly been completely ring-barked by elephant. But once again, it is only the second specimen we found this afternoon, and is on a lovely termite mound. And I don't see any pods in the tree at the moment. I'd like to show you one of the pods, because the pods, as I said, you can make coffee, and when you roast them, they are edible. But what is awesome is that in the termite mound itself, we've actually found a little baby. But we're going to stay here with this in the shade for a moment, and we're going to quickly link you over to Brent, who has some cheetah.
Okay, a Cory bastard. Cheetahs. Now, let's zoom in on the cheetahs there quickly, Adrian. I want to see, from what I could see, it was only a little male who was showing a little bit more. Cory bastard. Very interesting to see if that little male decides to make a dash. And we do apologize for a little bit of breakup we're getting here. We are coming to you 100% live from the middle of the African bush. At the moment, I think that Cory bastard's got enough space that he'll be able to... There we go. Had enough space to get airborne. I apologize again for the black screen. Well, maybe that'll be enough to get Mom up on the move. The little male did chase the Cory bastard, who managed to take off in enough time to escape. Now, let's go to Mom quickly. It looks like she's being dive-bombed by some lapwings. They've given up now. No, they're still coming in. And when she stood up, they started dive-bombing her. Now that she's laying down again, they've stopped. And they might be coming in. I'm just trying to see. It's quite difficult. I'm looking straight into the sun at the moment. Here we go. Incoming lapwing, but they're just going to fly past, I think, yes. No, they've gone to attack the young male instead. Let's go to the male quickly. There we go. You can see the lapwings flying around. So obviously they have a nest somewhere close by. Incoming. Zoom. But they're not getting too close to the cheetah. Flop. Flop after his unsuccessful bastard hunt. Well, now that's over, let's go back across to Steve, who's still wandering around on Shank's pony.
And you're back with us, folks, with our baby Scotia that was not hunting a Cory bastard. As much as I would love to see cheetahs hunting, I would hate to see them take down a bird such as a Cory bastard. That would just be a very sad day for me. They are such special birds, the largest flying bird, heaviest flying bird in Africa, I do believe. And you've come back to us, and we are still on our termite mound, and you just saw a little visual there of the baby, and the baby is directly underneath the parent. Well, I'm guessing it's the parent, unless it was deposited here by some other form, and that begs the question, why are these boer beans growing on these termite mounds? And if you can see the damage done to the base of this tree by elephants, I suppose the ones that are quite low down get more damage. So first of all, the termite mounds provide a bit of height, a bit of elevation. They provide nice sort of runways or tunnels for the roots to go through. Much easier than trying to bury yourself or the roots into very hard soil. And also termite mounds like this, as you've discussed, are the fungus-growing termites. They require lots of moisture, so they have tapped into the water table. We do find these trees on drainage lines because of the water, and we are quite far away. We're actually on a little bit of a elevated spot here. So that's probably why it's here as well. But then also the pods are eaten by baboons and such, and they will come along and do exactly what I'm doing. Sitting on a termite mound like this, sort of having a look at what's going on. And when they defecate and one of the seeds falls into a little gap in the termite mound, lo and behold, like this little fellow we have here, it is growing. And hopefully it will survive, but it's not very far from the ground. It's only about 3 or 4 feet from ground level. And so, unfortunately, what will happen, because of the nutrients in the soil here, a herd of impala walking through will probably nibble that guy, and it won't get much bigger than it is. Hopefully it'll get bigger, but I doubt it'll get into the same size as this one. But when we talk about trees, we talk about fruiting. What's the objective of fruit and seeds? Obviously, fruit is digested or aimed to go into an animal's gut and then to go a long distance and then deposit it somewhere else. But in the case of this one's probably just fallen from the tree and got purchased there and is growing. But the competition that it will now generate with the adult share, yes, it'll take some time, but the roots are going into the same sort of area. They're competing for the same. They will be for shade, definitely. The sun is now sort of more that side, but be competing for light, be competing for energy. The idea behind fruit is it gets eaten and deposited through a digestive system 5, 6 to 12, 15 hours later, depending on the animal. Yeah, so wonderful termite mounds coming into all sorts of play in our repertoire this afternoon. And what a lovely place to sit and relax. The breeze is quite nice. I can imagine myself being Tumbo the other day. Sorry, Tumba, I get that wrong, apologies. Who was sitting on that termite mound looking at the impala around. We are not looking for impala, we're looking for anything else, but we're going to continue on this way and keep up with our discussion on the small and little things. Me and my trusty stick. So as we continue on, following closely behind Herbie there, we're going to go back up to the Mara with
the Corey bastard, after being chased, has meandered back down the hill towards the waiting young man. But I think the Corey bastard is well aware that the cheetah is there, so I don't think he's going to get as close as he did last time. And maybe the youngster has learned his lesson that the Corey bastard might be a little bit wiser than he is at the moment. And you can see he's just rolled over, turned his back to the Corey bastard, and is taking no note whatsoever. I'm sure you can hear the wind that is buffeting us at the moment, and it has got a bit cooler. And there's the Corey bastard doing another walk. Vincent would like to know, how many cubs did Miale start with? I'm not sure, Vincent. Well, he's up. I'm not sure. Since I've been seeing her, she's only had one. But Cheetah very seldom give birth to one cub. She probably started with as many as 4, or maybe even 5, and only one has survived. But I'm not 100% sure how many cubs she started with. Miale is still down, not moving. The cub is, as we can see, still up. And so they're quite hungry. They didn't succeed in catching anything last night or this morning. So there's a good chance they are going to hunt. And there he goes, flops down again. Lazy critter. The koi bus. Two animals. Oh, there's a predator around. They will come for a closer inspection. But while we wait to see what happens next out here in the wonderful Masai Mara, let's go across to the other side of the Mara.
Excellent to all of you, my audience, for today. May I say a very big thank you. Thank you for being there for me. Thank you for listening to me. And great to have hosted.
Don't worry.
Very good, and great to have had you, as my guest on today's great experience of Safari Live. Please be happy to be our guest every time on hashtag Safari Live. And thank you, Megan and the crew in FC. Marianne, it's not humid, it's very cool now, and if you come, it's very, very good weather. So we are talking about 20 degrees centigrade. Great weather at the moment in the Mara. Marianne? So, can I say earlier, thank you everybody, and thank you for being.
What weather do the animals have the most?
It depends on which animal we are talking about, and I can tell you there'll always be action going on, but in general is cool weather. Everybody's happy when the temperatures are not very high. When it gets very, very hot, very humid, they tend to look for shades, go under the trees near the water areas. But cool weather to many animals is very ideal for them. But it could be any time you'll get guys out there, but cool weather is pretty good for them.
He's a very cool bird.
Good. That looks like a marshal eagle out there. Huge bat there. I'm not sure Craig can get it. It looks like a big eagle. I'm not sure it's a marshal eagle, and could be finding out where to go for dinner for tonight. We'll close in a little bit. Hopefully she doesn't take off, and we'll be able maybe to identify who she is. But looks like a huge eagle, some of the largest eagles we got in Africa. Pretty strong. They'll bring anybody down, including small little antelope babies, or sometimes snakes or other birds. I mean, the big birds of prey. Let's see who exactly she is.
Well, still up. Miale still snoozing behind, and the wind is getting really cold at the moment, so it's got quite a lot chillier than it was maybe even half an hour. Easier for them to move. The Cory bustard is still wandering about, trying to get itself into a bit of trouble. As I say, it's probably about 20 meters from the cheetah at the moment. the cub join a male coalition, or would it stay solitary? Tom, if the opportunity arose for it to join a coalition, it would almost certainly join a coalition. It makes a lot more sense for it to join a coalition because it'll be able to control a bigger area and have a better chance at mating rights as it gets older. Lone do survive and do quite well, but it probably wouldn't be able to hold a prime territory like the one we are in at the moment. Well, we're going to keep playing the patience game with the
Yeah, we are very lucky. If you look on our left there, we got the black-chested snake eagle. There was a pair there. They were just about to mate. So we might get a little interruption there with a little... Yeah, Jeep, it's gone. Thank you very much. And the male just took off. But what we're seeing now is the female. And the male a few seconds ago was mounting it. And then I don't think she was in the right mood. So we'll see if the male will come back. And that's the black-chested snake eagle. Yeah, birds always got a challenge, as I had earlier said. You'll always mix them up. Initially, I had to make cameraman. That was the martial eagle. Then we just got coming closer, we found out. Yeah, it was still an eagle, but the black-chested snake eagle. I don't think much snakes will be coming out this time, and I don't think they could see them very well. But...
Sally, could a snake kill a snake?
Depends on the situation. Some snakes are very intelligent. Like say that, like the mambas are very, very intelligent. They have been known to bring eagles down, but in general the eagles tend to win. But it has been found out in a few cases, Sally, that also snakes bring down the eagles. They're very clever, and more so to me, the mambas are some of the intelligent snakes I know about. They'll always pick them up with your clothes, sometimes fly high, let them come down, do that a few times until they know they're good to go. But at the same time, the mambas, for example, have been known to bite and bite very hard. And depending on what kind of toxin they have, if say something like toxin snakes, it very, very quickly comatoses the eagles and brings them down also, and they're not able to kill them. The snakes do survive. So Sally, yeah, snakes also equally fight back. And we have seen... James, in East Africa, I would categorically say, unless some other authority would say different, the crowned eagle is the strongest eagle we got in Africa, followed by the martial eagle. The martial have a big name, but to me, the crowned eagle, being a forest bird, I have seen it bring down a fully grown female antelope and kill it. So the crowned eagle, to me, is pretty powerful. They have been known also to take human babies. Occasionally, like where the villages we come from, there's a condition kids are born with called the jaundice, some yellowness in them. And in the villages, the mothers would put the kids out to get vitamin D, which easily fixes the condition. And if the mother goes in the house to do one thing or another, the crowned eagles, just like the vultures, would come and pick the babies and would eat them. So I would say the crowned eagles are the strongest birds we got in this part of Africa. Good. Brent, any other delicacy brought down by the cheetahs today, or they still think the hartebeest was good for the day? Over to you, Brent.
Well, we're still waiting for this lot to get moving. sort of, I'm very hungry, Mom. When we're going to go hunting, please? But Miale still looking quite stately and calm, sitting there. And you can see their hollow bellies. For a another half before she gets off on the hunt. But as I said, we have a... She decides park times we will be here. Buck. No, not really, William, unless you're a lizard or aggressive. The males can fight with each other, but they generally prefer to display against each other for the affections. But while we wait patiently to see what happens next, let's go back across to David, who's on the move.
Very good. And again, as was thanking all my audience, I should have also thanked Jamie for the big help for me in the background, being my day one on the interview and being out in the bush for the first time. She has done tremendously, very, very well. Jamie, a very big thank you. Asante Sana, as we locally say here. Cameraman Craig, who has been praying for me, who has done a very, very good job also. Thank you so very much, Craig. And to all of you, our audience, I want to say thank you for your support back there, and thank you for being there. And it has been a great day, and we'll see you again pretty soon. Bye for now, and have a very good one.
Oh, we've got one more question.
It depends on what you're doing, but you have to be very careful when you're on foot and seeing what you're exactly looking for. Just bring that question again, Megan, for me. Megan, just refresh that question again, please. A lot of things happen, but we'll always brief the clients very well before engaging them on foot. And number one is like, should anything go wrong while on foot, you never run, you never scream. Number one, just obey instructions from your guide. So whatever he'll tell you to do, if stop is to back up slowly, but the guidelines are never scream, never run away. Just follow the rules or what your guide tells you on foot. And ideally, he'll be very well armed. We know our stuff, we know our thing when we're out there, but the big thing is you do not scream and you never, ever, ever run away. It could be worse if you decide to take off. All right, and yeah, let's hopefully someone's happy with that answer as we head up. Very good, Brent. Time for us to keep going. Let us know what the cheetahs are thinking. The musketeers have really kept you busy the whole day, and it's time for us to go have a drink.
David, I'm with Miale. I left the musketeers this morning, and she's just jumped off the spot where she was sitting, and I'm going to just try see if we can get a view of her. I'm not sure which direction she's going yet, but it seems to be there's some gremlins living right there. So I'm going to try keep up away from her, up high, so we can see where she's going and plan our course of attack. Now the young males started running around and playing, which is a good sign that they're going to get moving shortly. So which way are you going to go, Madam Miale? Well, the young male's out in So apparently we're having some tech issues, folks, so apologies. So we're going to go across to the mountain cam, and while we fix it, and Djuma is going to take over for a little while.
Hello everyone! So we ended up having to leave Thandi and the precious little cub to give space for some of the Djuma guys and their guests. And we are going to carry on to Chitwa Dam and see what we can find there. We left Hosana yesterday afternoon, not far from where I am now, crossing sort of south over the road, over this way, but a little bit more there. I'm heading towards Chitwa Dam, so I'm hoping now that it's a little bit cooler, we might get lucky with him. I know that James was looking for him this morning and was unlucky, unfortunately, but maybe the luck is with us again for another leopard, and we can have our leap. Well, we had our leap of leopards with Thandi and cub, but maybe we can have a trifecta of leopards with Hosana as well. That would be fantastic. I'm also hoping for a bit more swimming elephants. Scott and I were joking earlier before we went on drive that him and I were just going to drive straight to Chitwa Dam and just go swimming and order apple juice from the bar, and that was going to be game drive. That obviously hasn't panned out and it is a lot cooler now, so we're much more comfortable. What else could we possibly find at the dam? Maybe that African open bill is still down there. That African jacana yesterday was really great. And while I'm busy bumbling to Chitwa Dam, I think let's head on over to Scotty D, who's busy bumbling about somewhere a little bit north of me.
Yes, I certainly am bumbling about, also hoping to find you another leopard. So who knows, maybe 4 leopards if Noel gets lucky. And I've literally just this very second stumbled upon some tracks. Now, what's interesting here is that it seems like there could be 2 leopards that were moving through this area. The initial track that I saw is quite a big one. I haven't parked in the best place to be able to show you the tracks. They're very close to the vehicle. But there's tracks of a large male going down the road and also looks like there's tracks of a female heading up the road. So it's going to require a little bit more investigating to try and work out if they were here at the same time, who was here first, how fresh the tracks are. They may not even be that fresh. So let me just take a short little walk here to see if I can't get any more clues. Just some hyena tracks on the side of the road. I can't see any leopard tracks here initially, but they definitely both were on the side, both the male and the female. So, good prospects. I'm probably going to need to spend a couple of minutes here just trying to work out exactly what's happened. Who knows, maybe if we're very lucky, we will have mating leopards. It would be a surprise, though, because this area that we're in is kind of home to, in all likelihood, 3 females. Thandi, who's accounted for this afternoon, Shadow, Thandi's sister, she's unaccounted for, and possibly Kuchava. Now, all 3 of these females have got cubs at the moment, so maybe it was just that a male and a female crossed paths with one another. So let me just do a little bit more investigating of the bush telegraph here and try and work out exactly what signs have been left behind on the dirt tracks. And while I further investigate, we'll send you off to one of the other guides. Hopefully you come right with those leopard tracks. We have been walking sort of west from our previous position, and got some quite fresh elephant tracks and elephant dung which we've been following, and this is a typical sort of sign of elephant feeding. And by the fact that the leaves are still quite green and fluidy, they haven't dried out, indicates it's quite fresh still. But by the fact that this cambium bark here is actually wet, means it is very dry, very hot today, so it's difficult to ascertain that correctly. But probably about an hour and a half, 2 hours behind these elephants, but we are sort of approaching our sort of southern western boundary with Simbambili. So we're going to carry on this way and see if we can manage to find anything. Always love finding tracks and signs of elephants. We had them mud wallowing, and there was some dried mud on the tree where they'd actually rubbed up against the tree walking past, and that was dry as well. So good indication that it's quite warm today. But I love walking in the tracks of these giants. It really is quite something, even if you never see them. Just the smells they leave behind, that vegetation fermentation in their dung, the big feet, the fact that they're moving through here where we are now moving through effortlessly, with leaving only the smallest of visual signs on the floor. It's always something that amazes me, and the silence with which they can disappear to the bush and reappear out of the bush, always something I've found exhilarating. But while we continue on our little quest here, we're going to go over to Noel, who I believe has got a small little shelled creature.
I have got a little chelonian, I have a little tortoise, a leopard tortoise to be exact. So not quite the other leopard we were looking for, but I'll take it. Now, they are vegetarians, and this little one is, well, I'd say little, but this is a fairly decent size tortoise for our area. Down in the Eastern Cape of South Africa, they get much, much bigger than this, and down there they also swim. Tortoises in general don't swim, but the leopard tortoises in the Eastern Cape, in Addo in particular, swim quite a bit. So this one is off looking for what I thought was something to eat. It's gone off its really nice pathway and then has veered in a completely other direction. So only this tortoise knows what it's doing. I have no idea what it's up to. But it's nice low vegetation here, so we can keep following it. It's possible that maybe it found too much of a sunny spot and is trying to find a little bit of shade. Or it's possible that it's smelling another tortoise. You never know. I wouldn't be able to necessarily tell you from here if it's male or female. You usually have to check underneath the carapace on the bottom end there. If it's concave, then it's a male. If it's flat or convex, then it's a female. And notice how it lips up. I'm sorry, guys. I'm very thirsty. I'm going to have some water quickly. It lifts its whole body up and then walks on its feet and on the claws of the feet there. Much better, so that it's easier to move around. And this is quite a slow move for the tortoise, which is, for many of you, quite quick. Most people think that tortoises are very, very slow, but when a tortoise really wants to run, it's actually, look, it's not a cheetah, but it's very quick. And then you can see how that sort of leoparded print on the back helps it blend into the vegetation as it carries on. And those ground hornbills that we saw today, this would be something that of a food source for them, and they would be able to peck through that very hard shell, all those scoots on top, and get down into the tortoise itself. One of the few birds that can do that. And then he meanders off. Okay, now to the dam. I can see there's impala that are making their way down there. Judy, you're saying that has to be the fastest tortoise you've ever seen. They're quick, hey? Very quick. Now, there's a few elephant tracks coming in and out that looked promising, but I'm not actually physically seeing any elephants, so we've either missed them or they are just behind the back here, so we'll have to go and have a look. But I do see our raft of hippos, our pod of hippos down at the bottom. Not catching any glance of Hosana quite yet, but it's still a little warm. Vicky, interesting question. You're curious to know if the shell on a tortoise is heavy? Vicky, I would imagine because, look, it's thick, but it's dome-shaped, and then the body of the tortoise is inside, and then there's all space in there. I wouldn't imagine that it's too heavy for the tortoise. The tortoise is quite robust. For us, when we pick it up, when there isn't a tortoise inside, it's not a heavy object, but it's definitely a solid object. I don't have any. I'm looking around now for like an empty tortoise shell. Here we go with our beautiful hippos. With their thin epidermis. Oh, this is pretty. With this nice light here in front of Chitwa Lodge. I love this spot. I never get tired of this spot. Oh, we've got an oxpecker on those hippos there. Busy taking whatever ticks or parasites are off, or on them, taking them off. They would have picked those up along the way as they feed throughout the night. And then also, if those hippos have any wounds, those oxpeckers will keep the wounds open to keep the blood flowing so that they can ingest the blood. Oxpeckers are more of a parasitic relationship than a peaceful symbiotic relationship. Here goes the fish eagle flying across the top end. I was actually hoping he was going to go down and fish, but he was mean and kept going in the wrong direction. Unfortunately. Sorry guys, we're just going to have another game drive vehicle come through. Must we come with you? We must go. He's saying we must come. So I have a feeling Hosana is here. So you heard him say, Buya, that means come, you must come. Look at us. See, this is why guides like each other, talk to each other. We're staring peacefully at hippos and fish eagles. And now we're going to come down around the backside of the dam. And let's see what they want to show us. So this is one of the Chitwa vehicles. As you know, we've got a pretty good relationship with Chitwa and their guests and their owners. They let us use the dam often. I wonder if it is indeed Hosana, or maybe it's lions, maybe it's elephants. I have a feeling with the hand movement that it's probably Hosana. I got you now, Curse. Sorry. Vicious and Delicious, you're saying Hosana. I think you're going to be correct there, my friend. I do think you're going to be correct. But also don't forget, Kachava has been seen in and out of this area. And I saw a gentleman this morning that manages one of the lodges around here, and he was saying he's been seeing Kachava up and down and not wanting to leave the area that's a little bit farther west from here too much. So I have a feeling that she's dropped her cubs, but without being able to drive there, I can't honestly tell you for 100%, but that's what my gut feel says. I feel like maybe we should be holding hands with the vehicle in front, Dottie, and like tootling along. So we are in Hosana's hunt. James was down here today. having a look, and there's another Chitwa vehicle that's here with us as well. They're parked on the other side at a very precarious position. So we're gonna oh sorry, it's not another Chitwa vehicle, it's a different lodge, similar color. Needed to have another look. So we're just gonna come around the side here, and I'm gonna try and park as best as we can without interfering too much. It might just take me a minute or two. And I'm thinking, can you see him, Davi? Yeah, I think he's just in this little crooks here. Guys, I'm just gonna stop here. Oh, there he is. He's moving behind us. He's coming to our 3 o'clock. And como shenanium fo. Thank you very much. Here he's coming out. Let's go and see who it is. This is very exciting. We have our trifecta of leopards. All right, so the leopard's gonna come out just here. I just got the cutest little woohoo from Kirst in my ear. And let's come around a little bit. Well, our assumption was good. Our gut feeling was good. And with the work of a few other people, we have our leopard. Now, the sun's at a little bit of an awkward angle. I'm going to do my best as we come around the corner here, and I can see our little leopard friend. Must I go farther in, Davi? There we go. It looks like Hosana to me. Yay! Well, this is good. Thandi and Cub and Hosana all in one drive. Watch, 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 watch. What's he going for? What's he going for? Really behind the tree, Hosana? I swear he's chasing after squirrels again. I can see him just barely through the branches there. Maybe down a little bit. Could have been Franklin's. Could have been a little squirrel. There. I bet it was a little squirrel because he's moving away again. We're gonna sneak under this tree as best as we can. He's actually going to disappear. Ooh, maybe not. Hello, my boy. He's gonna come down. He likes this drainage line. He's gonna come down to the drainage line. Sometimes he goes all the way across and sometimes he comes in. I just wanna move a little bit for the guests that are behind me so that they can come through as well and have a look-see, because they were so nice to share this sighting with us. So we're just gonna come around the corner like this. And it looks, I know what we're gonna do. It looks as if he's gone into the drainage line, so we're gonna go around to the other side where I know we can access from there and see if we can pick him up again. And I'm pretty sure that means the other guides are probably going to go around to the other road, but we'll have to wait and see what they do. Oh, sorry, Davi. As I fling Davi off the back of the vehicle, let's go over to Scott and see how his leopard hunt is going that side.
Not quite as well as Noel's, but it's still early days and time is still on our side. So hoping that either the male or females whose tracks we had not far from here will pop out on one of these roads. We interestingly backtracked the male through default, really, just checking this general area. Oh, see very often. Don't run away, it's got a tiny little baby. And I'm sure a lot of them will. There's another one. This is a vervet monkey, and I think this is the first time that I've actually been able to show you them since I've been back here in the Sabi Sands. And I've been disappointed in that they have not been as useful as they could be with regards to helping us find leopards. They're one of the best leopard alarm callers, and when you hear their oops, sorry, rattling out, you know for certain that there's probably a leopard nearby. Sorry, Vim, I just let the car roll back a little bit there. Oh, let's take a close look here. He's a male, and he's got very impressive, or a very impressive scrotum, as you can see. How beautiful is that baby blue coloration? I am quite jealous of your setup there, Mr. Vervet. And who knows whether this is the dominant male or if he... I'm guessing it could well be. He's a big guy, so he could be dominant in this troop, but who knows, maybe there's a few others that are lurking in and around him. There's usually more than one adult male within a troop, but not necessarily dominance. And all seems calm and peaceful here. Now, even though I said that these guys can be very good at spotting leopards, occasionally they come unstuck and leopards will catch them and feed on them. So even though they look completely relaxed now, we mustn't just assume that there isn't a leopard spying on them. Very, very wonderful. Well, it looks like the mother with the mother with that little baby disappeared down into the river, sadly. Let's see, there's one coming out. I think it's going to walk through a gap at about 10 o'clock there, VM. Yeah, let's see there. Does that one have a baby? No. It's my favorite thing, watching the young babies cling on to their mothers. Usually underneath the belly, but sometimes they ride on the back. Sinak, you're wondering what kind of hierarchy there is within a troop of vervet monkeys, and as far as I'm aware, there's a kind of dominant male and then his girlfriends, unlike a baboon troop who's got a kind of gang of males that are dominants, and they all have their girlfriends within the troop. And then in terms of the hierarchy of the females, I'm guessing probably the oldest, biggest females command some kind of respect and dominance over the others. Oh, there's the little baby. Awesome. I couldn't see it while she was sitting. You would have just got a glimpse as they moved off. Wonderful. Well, hopefully we will be able to get you some more sightings of those wonderful primates, but for now you're going across to another primate who is taking a mud bath.
A mud bath indeed. There's not too much wet mud here. And we've just got an image of a whip scorpion, type of whip scorpion that is busy emerging out of the mud. It's a little bit muddy, but not dangerous. He's probably looking for some food. They are predatory, but they don't have any form of sting. So I don't think he's going to try hurt me. But there he is. So we started off here in this little mud wallow. First going to have a look. You can actually see, I don't know if you can see it here, Seb. Try have a look at that there. There's a tadpole just inside where my stick is pointing that has the unlucky fortune of being stranded in a pile of mud that is very quickly disappearing. This little mud wallow that we're in probably last week or the week before, there, just in front of my stick, a little tadpole just in the mud there. There he is. And I think he is struggling. There's another one there. They are struggling. They were obviously, after some rain, the parents would have come along and done some breeding, all sorts of mating rituals in this mud wallow, thinking it was going to last long enough. But without any rain following that, it's quite sad, because those eggs would have hatched and the tadpoles would have reached a certain age now, but they're nowhere near metamorphosizing into adult frogs, which is quite sad. But that is just what happens out here. The issue with lack of water, the issue with lack of rain can lead to these certain sort of things. But these mud wallows, not just for frogs, instrumental for all sorts of animals. And the major reason I stopped here was to ascertain what it was that lay over here and rolled around in the mud. And to identify it, I have found the track, which is just over here. There's one there, one there, and one there. And what is very easily seen is these two dew claws at the back, and then where the hoof has gone in. A hoof has gone in over there, and the two dew claws at the back. So this was definitely the site of a warthog, loving the mud, covering himself in this lovely, very, very soft mud still. And that would have been really, really nice to cover him. It would have been quite cool. You can actually see, if you look closely, there's areas where you can see where there was bits of hair and the body was actually rubbed in and around here. Would have had an absolute pig of a time rolling around in here, covering himself in the mud, which works as obviously protection against the sun and keeps the biting flies away. What also does is that it will cover them in mud and suffocate ticks. And what you'll often find, and I can see just by looking up over there, is after a warthog has done his business in a lovely wallow like this, he has to come and scratch. And by scratching, he often dislodges the ticks. You can clearly see by the height, I mean this is not very tall, the height here, this is the body of the warthog. It would have been rubbing the side of his body here. And if you look closely, sometimes you can find hairs, you can even find dislodged ticks either on the ground or stuck on the mud here. And there we go, that looks like a warthog hair from his mane. Smells like mud, nothing too much. Beautiful little hair there. Sorry, can you get that, Seb? There's the hair. Okay. Beautiful hair. There's a couple of them there. You can see the mud just caked on the tree here. And that is obviously from the warthog. Off he went to do his bidding. First lady, very good question. How do you keep cool in this weather? Well, we try and leapfrog from shade to shade, as Herbie's doing over there. He's watching out very diligently with an amazing big smile as I talk about him now. He's just standing in there in the shade of a little quarry, but I'm quite used to this heat now. I'm used to it being a lot hotter, actually. I worked for a long time, a while up in Botswana, up in northern Kruger, and it's quite a few degrees warmer up there in January. So this for me is actually quite pleasant. Lots of water is ideal. But one of the other topics I was quite keen to talk about is we're quite low down in the Katina, so to speak. So from the top of the slope, you can kind of see the slope over there, and it comes down, and what we have here is the bottom, and this is very, very hard ground, very hard crust. If you can see that there, for me to get through that requires a lot of effort, and so it's so important for your herbivore animals. If I just take a step over here to the pathway where the animals are, look at the difference in the ground there. So herbivore animals with their hooves walking through here are instrumental in turning the soil over. Otherwise it gets very, what we call brackish, and very difficult for a root system to grow under there. So this happens, it's part of the ecosystem, but the herbivore is instrumental for turning it over. And while we continue, we're going to be going over to Noel, who I believe has my best friend, the little prince.
We found him again! Yay! We've got a couple other vehicles that are joining us to come and say hello. He went into the drainage line and then he popped out just here on the back side of the dam wall. Now, to our, I want to say 9 o'clock, maybe 8 o'clock, there's a huge amount of impala. So I have a feeling, it's far, it's on the other side of the dam, but I have a feeling what he's going to do is he's going to rest up in the shade here. And then when it's time, he'll move on. There we go. So there they are, over just right in front of Chitwa Lodge. And so that's a good, they're coming down to drink, so it's a good place for him to be and to wait for the sun go down. Alright, so we have some of the other guides that are around us, because we're in a small little spot to be able to view. You are going to hear some of them talking, and they're just chatting to their guests the same way that I'm chatting to you. And you can see Hosana is not perturbed at all. A young male leopard. And I want to say Prince of Djuma, but he's being the Prince of Chitwa at the moment. Sinak, you're curious to know if leopards hunt francolins and squirrels. Most definitely. Earlier when we had Hosana, he started crouching down and running a little bit. I definitely think he's going after a squirrel. He did it to us again yesterday, and then we've been in just pretty much the same spot, and he's been hunting squirrel in the bushes here. So yes, he does like to do that, and they will go for francolin, and they're quite fastidious. They pick all the feathers out before they eat a francolin or a guinea fowl. They really like guinea fowls, and then they'll start eating that meat. They'll also eat scorpions and mice, and I believe Hosana, when he was tiny, just after Kruger had passed on, he was eating terrapins to survive, which was super interesting for me. I'd never seen a leopard do that before. Not that I saw him, but I've had all of you tell me all about that. I do know of a young male leopard like himself who used to go fishing for fish when he was about this age, about 2 years old, getting all the way in the mud and the water to pull out catfish and barbel. I've also seen leopards hunting rock dassies. Dassies are not something that we see often here, or at all here. I don't think we have very many rocky outcrops for them, but if we were to have them, they would hunt them. A rock dassie is very similar to a guinea pig. He really is a stunning boy. Now, he keeps doing this where it looks like he's going to start sort of stalking a little bit, and he's just sort of lazing himself around and then lying down in a different spot on the cool soil there. Nothing's really that cool at the moment, but cooler than where we're sitting, that's for sure. Busy grooming himself, very similar to how birds preen. Everyone, don't forget we are coming to you live from the South African bush in Sabi Sands. Well, we're on Chitwa at the moment, but in the Djuma Chitwa area. And you can send through those questions, hashtag Safari Live on Twitter or on YouTube chat. And we love hearing the questions. We also love comments. And it can be about Hosana and the sighting that we're having right now, but it could be about anything else related to the bush out here and what we're doing. I'm actually sitting across at the moment from a guide that myself and Steve trained a few years ago, so it's nice to see him out and about and doing his thing with his guests. It's a proud moment. Tisha, I'm actually not quite sure. So Tisha, you're asking who named them the royal family? How did they get these royal names? Was it just us, or does it come from the lineage? Tisha, I've only been with Safari Live for about 3 months. Scotty D has been with Safari Live on and off for about 3 years, and I actually think he would probably be a better person to answer that question. If I had to hazard a guess, I would say it has a lot to do with Kruger, who's no longer with us, who has been around this area for a very long time. When Tristan and I first met, Tristan, for those of you that don't know, Tristan's another presenter here. When Tristan and I first met about 7 years ago, Kruger was one of the females we used to see around this area, and then, as you all know, she's had quite the lineage of offspring, and she's done very well. I believe she's only lost 1 litter out of about 12, if I'm remembering correctly, but I'm sure someone out there will correct me if I have misspoken. Which we love, so put up maybe a little gift there on Twitter for any of our new viewers, and they can have a look-see there. And I know that we call Tingana, one of our resident territorial males, the Duke, and so I believe the prince came from that, as well as I think we used to call Kruger the Queen. So if I can't answer this correctly, hopefully Scotty D can, and then if Scotty D also can't help me out, then I'm sure there's 1 or 2 of you that can maybe do that for us. Bushmum, you're saying that Kruger was the queen, as I was hazarding a guess there, and then all the kids became the royal offspring. There we go. So my guess wasn't too far off. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Bushmum, for sending that through. I very much appreciate that. I sometimes sit here. So I've been guiding for over a decade now, and sometimes when I'm sitting here with a leopard like this, I ponder how much, like, he obviously knows us, he knows our smells, he knows our sights, he knows he can see every single guest that's here, he can see every single tracker, he can see myself and Davi on the vehicle, and species like Hosana here can definitely tell the difference between all of our voices, but I do wonder sometimes, what do they think? Like, when I look at a giraffe, I think that they're great. Okay, pose for the safari paparazzi quick. Now turn your head quick. Okay, now bat your eyelashes quick. quickly do it. They'll take their photos and then leave. And then if I was inside Hosana's head, I mean, I can only just imagine, because I'm sitting here and talking quietly, and then the vehicle next to us has their guests and they're chatting quietly, and then the vehicle behind me the same thing. So no one's being overt or loud, and he's not upset or despondent in any way. He's very comfortable, but I do wonder what's going on inside that brain. That good question. You're curious to know at what age will he start to mate. So Hosana is 2 years old. So usually they start mating when they become territorial. Now this has been an ongoing back and forth discussion as to when he will become territorial, because he was thrown into independence long before he should have been because of the passing on of his mother, unfortunately, and he's managed to survive up to this point, which is absolutely incredible. So my sneaky suspicion is that he's busy trying to take over parts of Tingana's territory, which would include here and where we were looking at Thandi earlier, and I'm going to hazard a guess from my side that he will probably take over a chunk of that by the time he's 4, so in the next 2 years. Also wouldn't surprise me if you start seeing him scent mark within the next year to year and a half, which would actually be early, but he seems to be doing everything a little bit earlier just because he's had to. Now, let's say for some reason he had been brought up fully with his mom, he only would have left his mother sort of now around 2 years old. And then he would have stayed around in her territory on and off, and then slowly moving out and slowly testing the waters and slowly seeing what was happening. And if there was a gap in the next sort of 4 years or so between the ages of sort of 4 to 6, he would have taken that gap, say here, or he would have moved on completely and found another gap somewhere else. And usually they wait till they're bigger and stronger. He's not fully grown yet. He's a nice sized male. He's going to be an even bigger male, but he's not much bigger than Thandi. So for him to compete with someone like Tingana, he needs to be about twice his size. Sorry guys, I'm drinking a lot of water in between our little talking segments. It's very warm. I'm almost through 1.5 liters in the past 2 hours. That's how hot it is out here today. It's very important to hydrate. It's good for your skin. Also good for your body functions. Now, something that's interesting about little Hosana here is a lot of the moisture that he needs. He does drink water, but he doesn't necessarily have to. He gets a lot of the moisture he needs from the animals that he eats, and also by conserving a lot of his energy by laying in the cool shade during the heat of the day and moving when it's cooler. And you'll notice when we saw him moving earlier, he was moving from shady spots to shady spots, and that helps conserve energy as well. Now we've got a pied crow that's flying in on top of this dead tree, and its mate just up in here. And now one of the other properties I used to work at, sometimes we found leopards. So there's 3 pied crows. Sometimes we found leopards by watching these pied crows dive bomb where the leopards were walking, just out of interest's sake. Now Steve is out walking about, and I also hope he's hydrating himself. So let's see what he has to say while we see what Hosana wants to do after his little cat nap.
And you're back. We are hydrating, and Herbie just heard the call of his favorite bird, and we're seeing if we can find it. It was the call of a black-bellied bustard. If we don't find it, I'll show you a photo. Quite a conspicuous bird. It likes these semi-open areas because it's all about visual for them. The call, and then the lady has to kind of sort of find where he is. Does that very loud popping sound? I don't do it very well, but I will. If we don't find him up here, Herbie seems to see it. So let's see if we can sneak up a bit closer. They're quite shy birds, but they're also quite camouflaged. So that's why they need open areas to do their sort of display for the females. Because if you're hidden in long grass, impossible to be seen. If your objective of calling is to mate. Ladies need to find you somehow. Lovely open area here. We can see for quite a distance. In preparation, though, I will try and find it for you on the phone and play you this wonderful call. You
if I can just type correctly with one hand. Okay, well, while we continue seeing if we can find this beautiful bird for you, I believe Mr. Dyson has found Thandi.
We certainly have. We've been allowed to make our way back into the area where Noelle had her and the cub a little bit earlier. The other vehicle that came and enjoyed a sighting with her has just moved out, which means we could come back, and it looks like our timing is absolutely perfect, because it looks like Mom is giving the cub a little bit of a clean. It looks like the cub could be trying to nurse as well. Now, I'm just going to keep quiet for a moment or two while we invite another audience on another platform. And welcome to everyone who has just joined us. We are coming to you live from the Sabi Sands in South Africa. As you can see, there is a leopard over there. She's a female. And if you look closely under the stump, you'll notice there's a tiny little cub. And it's busy nursing. Sadly, we've just not in the right spot here to be able to see the cub nursing, but how epic is this? They've been sleeping here all afternoon, and it looks like they've just woken up. My name's Scott, and I'm teamed up with VM on camera. Like I said, this is absolutely live, so pop any questions or thoughts in the comment box below, and we will get back to you as soon as possible. Now, what I'm hoping is that sooner rather than later, this leopardess decides to get on the move, and then we'll get to see her cute little fluffy fur ball following alongside her. Now, I've been out of this area for the last 2 weeks, so I haven't seen this cub for probably just longer than that, and it's incredible to see how much it's grown in the 2 weeks that I've been gone. It's definitely got considerably bigger. I'm told there's still a little bit of dispute as to whether it's a young male or female between the Safari Live guides and presenters, and I'm sure a lot of you have also got your own opinions as to whether you think this may be a male or a female, but unless it was to lift up its little tail now, it would be very difficult for us to tell. Now, it's a very hot afternoon. It's going on 6 p.m. here, just gone 6 p.m. actually, yet it is still incredibly warm. That's why she's still panting, trying to keep cool. And for any of you who may be joining us for the first time, it's important that you know that here in the Sabi Sands, we're incredibly fortunate in being able to follow the lives of leopard very, very closely, along with other big cats, but specifically the leopard. And this female's quite well known. She's 11 years old, and she's just moved into our territory due to the fact that her mother has moved out. And you can see there's a lot of thick vegetation here, perfect area to be moving with a young, vulnerable cub. And even though this cub has made it through just over probably 2 months of its first trials on the planet, it certainly does have a long way to go before it makes it to the safety of adulthood. So, Eloise, you'd like to know if there are any noticeable differences between male and female cubs, and no. It's not easy to tell the difference, especially at a young age like this, but you can see telltale kind of caramel little spots, 2 caramel spots underneath the tail of a young male, whereas a leopardess would lack those 2 characteristic caramel spots, which will eventually grow into larger spotted testicles. So, yes, they do, there is a difference. I haven't had good views of this cub yet. I'm told that some of the team here do think that it's a female. I think VM, who I'm teamed up with on camera today, is also vouching for that, the fact that she is a female, but I haven't even been able to hazard a guess as of yet. I'm wondering if I can creep forward just a meter or so. Let me try that quickly, because then we'll be able to get to see the cub's cute little face suckling. It's a bit of a risk. Oh, it looked like the cub had finished suckling anyway. And there's a good view of it. just having had a nice full drink. And it'll be soon that we see this cub gnawing on meat. At around 3 months of age, they will start being exposed to meat. Who knows, maybe even already this little cub has been exposed to meat. Its mother has been displaying some very bizarre behavior, and on 2 occasions we had her take kills back to the den site, which doesn't really make sense because it of course could attract other predators like hyena, leopard, or other leopard sniffing out an easy meal, or even lion. Could obviously pose a major threat to the cub. Yet she did that twice. Who knows if the cub managed to nibble on... Ooh, it looks like it's getting playful. Watch the end of Mom's tail. I think that's going to be the prime target. Ah, this is too good to be true. What an incredible, incredible scene this is. All of their 3 eyes lined up now. And I could not have asked for a better welcome back to work after 2 weeks away from this wonderful wilderness and the wonderful animals that reside in it. This is so epic. Look at Mom just plonking on the head with the tail. There's also been some other good news since I've been gone. I'm told that Kuchava, another female leopard, who sometimes spends time on our property, she kind of lurks on our southeastern boundary, or corner of our property, she has also given birth to cubs. I'm not sure if anybody knows how many just yet, but there have been reports that she's been seen lactating, so lots of cute little spotted cubs in the general area. Now, I wonder what Mom's plans are. I'm not too sure when she had her last meal. She seems not to be starving, but always tricky to make a call when they're lying down because their stomach could be getting pushed up by some uneven earth below. But who knows, maybe she'll get up and head off hunting soon. Ravi, you wondering if leopards can ever have twins? And yes, they could. It would be unique. I'm not sure how often it's actually been recorded in the wild. But more ordinarily, they'll just often have multiple, siblings, not necessarily twins. So they can have brothers and sisters, and leopardess can give birth to up to 4 cubs. But usually 2 or 3 is kind of the average. Of anything, 2 will be seen moving around outside of the den. The first 10 to 14 days of their lives, they'll be blind and helpless. But as far as we know, it's just been this cub that's made it out of the den. How many other cubs may have been born or may have been killed, we are certainly not sure. They could have been, been complications at birth. There could have been some stillborns, or who knows, maybe an animal like a snake slithered into a den and consumed some of them. Sadly, like I was saying earlier, they've got a lot of trials and tribulations, and they can often be killed by other animals, very often leopards, especially the fathers of the male leopards who are not the fathers of these cubs. Now, Ravi, you interested to know why the males don't play a bigger part in raising the cubs? Well, it's a good question, but it's kind of typical with all of the big cats. There are literally no big cats that will assist females in raising their cubs. Not the lion, not the leopard, not the cheetah. Lion occasionally, possibly through default, may be around with the pride of females and could maybe assist in chasing off other males, but they don't devote their time and their energy to looking after the safety of the cubs. But it wasn't too long ago, Ravi, where we had a sighting of this leopard's sister, Shadow, her sub-adult cub who's approaching a year of age, as well as the lady's boyfriend / husband and their daughter's father. They were all in one sighting together, but usually it's when, they're just crossing paths through default, or possibly if the father is trying to steal a kill from the ladies. Kim, you'd like to know if the cubs' spots will change at all as they get older? And not really, no. They won't lose or gain any spots. The spot pattern will stay the same. They'll just get bigger, I guess, as the cub gets bigger. But the kind of patterning will stay the same. And it's very, very useful for... Oof, looks like that cub's getting quite feisty back there. Just getting a few glimpses of it really chewing on something. I'm not too sure what, if it's Mom's tail or she's having a go at something there. Looks like Mom's getting a little bit irritable. But it can be very useful, as I was saying, with identifying cubs and leopards and keeping track of them and their movements from a very young age up until adulthood. Looks like this cub's getting a little bit bold here. What is its next move going to be? Now, just like humans, a mother will only be so tolerant of its child, and there'll come a point in time where she'll hiss and snarl and tell it to behave itself. But looks like the cub is, for now, just teetering on the right side of the law. Who was that little hiss at? Were you hissing at Mom? Were you wanting her to play a little bit more with you? Look at Mom's tail going around fiercely. Let's give it a minute or two and see if this cub doesn't liven up a little bit. I've got a feeling it might. Oh, you've grown so much. It's incredible how much they grow in such a short space of time, and I'm not able to hazard a guess as to how much bigger it's got, but it definitely seems far more sure-footed and definitely considerably larger and definitely more playful. This has been by far the most playful sighting I've been lucky enough to have of this cub together with Mom, and it looks like things are just going to get better and better. Mom's taking this opportunity to do a little bit of grooming of the cub as well as kind of meeting its requests for a bit of playtime. Oh, got swatted there. Oh, yes, you are very good at jumping onto logs. You're going to need to jump onto much bigger, higher logs than that, though, in the next month or so, because we all need to realize that in a very short space of time, we are going to see this cub in some dangerous scenarios because of the fact that it's going to need to start feeding on meat. It will be in scenes where there are hyena lurking below, sometimes lions on the scene. Who knows, wild dog could tear on to a scene with a kill. So we are going to have some very treacherous and exhilarating moments in the future with this cub. For now, though, it's absolutely cute and awesome and gorgeous, as a lot of you are saying. Look at her eyeing out that tail. Is she going to make a pounce for it? You shouldn't chew on your foot while you wait. You should focus on the task at hand, and she could pounce at any stage. Oh, is she going to go for it? I'm already calling it a she. I need to be careful. Diane, I'm very, very happy that this has made your day. It's not only yours, it's also mine, and I'm sure a lot of others who are joining us on this very, very special scene. Mom's getting herself clean, and now that, having some trouble with the flies, and I'm guessing that we could very shortly be up and on the move with this leopard. Oh, no, she's not quite ready just yet, which is fine by me, because when she does start moving, it may be hard to stay with her, and she also may leave the cub behind. She may command the cub to stay put while she goes off and focuses on getting them their next meal. Look at how cute this is with the little cub draped over Mom. Now, something that is also very important for all of us to just take account of is the fact that leopards are ordinarily very, very shy and elusive animals. So to be able to be allowed into the proximity of a leopardess with her cub like this, with them showing very little, absolutely no heed to the fact that we are actually here, is something that is incredibly, incredibly special. And It's a huge, huge privilege to be able to be seeing what we are seeing, especially considering the fact that it is coming to you live, unedited, unscripted, and most importantly, unaffecting these wild animals as they go about their business as if we are not even here. And it's a slow and gentle habituation of these animals that allows us to then follow them, and when this cub grows up, whether she's a girl or a boy, she will hopefully also let us follow closely what she gets up to. But it's going to be at least about another year and a half before, well, on average, before she becomes independent, or he. And I'm looking forward to being able to spend as much time with this little cub as she grows up. Well, First Lady, you just mentioned that she's got very similar looking eyes to Tumba, which is one of her brothers from a previous litter. And it could well be the case, and I'm glad you've noticed that. I certainly don't consider myself an expert when it comes to reading into the finer differences between these beautiful cats, but some of you guys really do have an eye and a knack for being able to pick up these differences. What I can tell you is that they are a beautiful color. They've changed slightly. They were a bit more of a bluish tinge a couple of weeks ago when we first saw it, but it's not uncommon for really young leopards to have a bluish green colored eye, and then for it to kind of change into a more browny gold as they get older. Okay, well, I think we've had such a wonderful sighting here, and if any of you would like to continue watching this live safari, feel free to hop on to YouTube. That's an easy option, and we aren't going to go anywhere. But for all of you who have just joined us on the Nat Geo page, thank you for your time. I hope you enjoyed this incredibly cute little sighting. We will see you all next time. Okay, everyone. Well, I'm sure you're all, just like me, having a thoroughly enjoyable time. And we're going to not move a muscle until we have to, but you are going to shoot back to Noel for a quick update.
Hello, how amazing is that sighting with Scott and the little cub suckling? How fantastic. It's really great. And I am super excited that his first drive back, he managed to get such a good sighting. It's also good because then that means that all of you got to see it for a little bit longer. I was sad when we had to leave earlier. Well done, Scotty D. Now, Hosana, we also had to give up our place for someone else to come and view, but I think we got a nice little sighting out of that. And then Davi and I are busy just sort of bumbling around and talking about Tingana and the tracks that we had from Tingana this morning. How great it would be if maybe Tingana just popped up, and then we would have 4 leopards for this afternoon's drive. But I don't want to push it too much. So we are just going to see what happens as we move along. The temperature is a perfect temperature now. It's not so hot. A little breeze has come through. Some hyena tracks. We haven't seen hyena in a really long time. That actually wouldn't be a bad thing to see some hyena on Djuma. So I don't want to keep you too long from the uber cuteness that is Thandi's little cub. So let's head back to Scotty D so that he can keep showing you that epic sighting. And I will see you tomorrow.
Well, you've come back at the perfect time because it looks like Thandi is about to get up and on the move. Now, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens here. Is she going to give the cub a command to stay put? Or is she going to call it along with her? And from what I gathered, I didn't have much time to chat with other guides when I arrived today, but from what I've understood, it seems like she's not really using a set den site anymore, and she's rather, the cub's not ready to be left behind just yet, clearly, but she's kind of just moving the cub to satellite dens, you could call it. So areas of relative safety where the cub can tuck itself away in a thicket, but relatively close to where she's hunting or where she may have made a kill. So I'm looking forward to kind of trying to follow her footsteps as closely as possible over the coming weeks. I'm thinking what we need to do. Let's just move quickly. Actually, yeah, let's move quickly, because then we can get you at least a few more good views, I'm hoping, as she moves off. And we are thinking of extending the safari a little bit, everyone. You'll be glad to know, I'm hoping, because of this epic scene that's unfolding. So fear not, we are not going to finish the broadcast at the regular time. Okay, let's just wait here. Here she goes straight in front of us, and the cub is following. There you can see the little cublet. How cool! I haven't seen them on the move yet. This is a first for me. I've only seen them in static den sites. Now, I need to think about what the best game plan is here, because I haven't seen them continue. Now, I can see them continuing now, but there is a bit of a riverbed here, so it can be a little bit tricky to negotiate through here, especially considering the fact that we don't want to disturb her and the cub in any way. But let's just keep at it for the time being. There's still a chance we can keep up with the two of them without bothering them. Paula, I'm glad you like the word cublet. I think it emphasizes the fact that it's a very small cub. Now, am I going to be able to skedaddle up here somewhere? If we are, yes we are. There she goes. Let's just bank another quick view. There's a nice little open stretch where you'll see the cub bounding after her. Oof. Very good. Now I'm thinking it may actually be best for us to stay in this riverbed and just try and loop a little bit further ahead of them. It's going to provide us with the best views rather than trying to get out the riverbed and shoot back down on them. Okay. Haven't been in this little area for quite a while now, so trying to refresh my memory as quickly as possible as to the little sneak alleys. But looks like we're okay for now. Okay, so VM's just got a view of them, and it sounds like we're on a good trajectory here. So if I just pop out onto this road here and wait, we should get some more views of them. Hi, Sea Cantrell, you'd like to know if we are alone in the sighting, and yes, we certainly are. This is a one-vehicle sighting, due to the fact that this cub is very small. So the reason why Noel moved off earlier is because of the fact that we only allowed one vehicle at a time, so the guides share the sighting amongst one another. Now I just want to check that she hasn't veered more up towards this big open road here, which she hasn't, which means I'm sure she's going to pop out somewhere just up ahead of us here. So we're going to find a good spot, wait patiently. I may even deploy the rover if there's a big enough gap for us to do it, and just let them walk past it. I won't drive it into them, I'll just leave it stationary, but we'll see about that and how it's all going. I think I've got it all rigged up and ready to go. And no, I haven't. I need to turn one more thing on. Okay. Now, where has she gone? Has she stopped there, VM? Let's just wait here. and see what happens next. I'm confident we are going to get some good views. It seems like I didn't go about turning the rover on in the correct formula, so it hasn't worked as it should, but I'll have another crack at it now. No. Something's making a strange noise there, so we'll scrap that idea. Alrighty. Now I don't want to move any further forward because we... Oh yeah, they come straight towards us. I'm not sure. Is the cub still with her? Yes, it is. Woohoo! Hello, you little cutie. And how absolutely awesome is this, everyone? Out in the open. The mom's very gently chuffing, which is a kind of form of communication that leopard mothers will have with their cubs. It's almost like a just a quick exhalation. Purring through the front feet. She's going to pop into another good spot here, I think. Hello, Anna-Marie. You'd like to know how long can a cub of this age survive without being nursed by its mother? And I would say easily 24 hours. Oh, here it goes, bounding after mom again. I would say easily 24 hours, but in trying scenarios, possibly even more than that. And it won't be uncommon that cubs are left alone. Let's reposition quickly. Because their mother's fundamental role needs to be acquiring their next meal. So if that's what they need to do, that's what they need to do. There's no way of them kind of stopping looking after themselves in order to look after a cub. Now what I'm thinking we should do is loop ahead of them, another big loop, because I don't think we're going to get the best views of them as they move through this thick area. We'll just see how it goes. I'm not sure why this remote is making such a noise. It says bind on it. VM shrugging, also not knowing. Alrighty. So if we wait somewhere here, they should come streaming straight past us. It's always just a bit of a lottery choosing which spot to stop at. But somewhere here, yep, they're coming straight towards us at about 11. Okay, so we are going to get some more views here. Excuse our pump house. This is where we get the water for our camp. It's pumped from a borehole here, so that's what that little structure was. And here comes the little cub. I can't believe how lucky we've been. And I haven't been following what the guides have been up to the last few weeks since we've been away, so I'm not sure how lucky you guys have been with sightings of this leopard and her cub, but this is absolute gold. Oh, cute. And straight out into the open again. Probably only about 15. Oh, straight into stalk mode now. She was ready to stalk mom. Very good sign that even from such a young age like this, she's already showing the telltale signs of a very stealthy huntress. What to do, where to go. Mrs. Grumpy, yes, I couldn't agree more. This is the best way one could finish off a day, and especially if it's your first day back at work like it is for me. What an absolute privilege. So what I'm thinking is we're going to do one last loop ahead here and then leave them be. We've had an incredible sighting of them. The cub's been relaxed, the mom has been relaxed, but we don't want to overstay our welcome. So I think we should just stop here. A nice elevated spot with the hope that mom will continue to work her way down this kind of riverbed towards us. I'm confident she will. Could be wrong, and they could obviously stop and have a break at any moment. Oh, Coast Sider, thank you very much for your kind words regarding my guiding. I'm glad you approve and give me the thumbs up. And what will be the ultimate test is if the spot I've chosen now is the right one, if she pops out or if she doesn't. So let's give it a moment and see. Susan, you'd like to know, how does the cub know when to stay or when to follow mum? And it'll be through, audio commands a lot of the time, through that strange word I said earlier called chuffing. And it basically sounds a little bit like this. A kind of high intensity panting almost, where they blow the air almost through their teeth. And that's one way that leopards will communicate with their cubs. What exact commands they give, I'm not too sure, but what we often see is when the mother returns from hunting and she's trying to find the cub will very, very quickly respond to the calls that the mother lets out. So, okay, it seems like this plan was possibly not the best one, because had they have continued to move at the rate that they were, we should have got a visual of them, which means one of two things. They could have continued up a long straight road and left the cover of this riverbed, or they may just be relaxing in that little area where we last saw them. So let's just head back and have a quick look. If we don't get lucky, well, I think we would be greedy if we were to be unhappy about that, because it's been such an awesome scene watching this little cub follow its mom about. Okay, we'll just stop here. It looks like mom's investigating some other possible hiding places, and who knows, even now the cub may have headed into, no, it may have headed into a small kind of drain pipe that ran under the road there, but alas, they didn't. Let's keep moving. Okay. How cool is this? It has to bound where its mother can just walk through the long grass. So I'm quite surprised. I wonder what got their attention here. If Thandi was checking out the kind of drain pipes that run under this road here. I remember jumping out of the vehicle once tracking Quarantine, and he popped out from right next to us here. Dink! So now my second very happy sighting of a leopard crossing over that area. Okay, everyone, let's try and get one last view. I keep saying that, but this is the last one. And the road branches away from where they are now quite nicely, which means we'll be able to get ahead of them and let her walk past. Actually, I think that's a bad idea. Let's just wait, Chin. Let's just take a look here and get the last views of this cub running back up to its mom. Here it goes. And I think now would be a good time to just leave them be and let all of you guys also get back to what you were planning on doing now before we decided to extend the drive. It's been an absolute pleasure being back and being on safari with all of you again. So thanks for everything, and well done to VM on camera and to the rest of the crew who make this all possible, because moments like this certainly are very, very special, and we look forward to sharing many more with you. We'll see you all in the morning.